Was I mute all the time? And I have read that thing for so long. Oh, Leah. Yeah, I've been speaking for 8 minutes and I was... Somebody come and get me. Am I loud enough now? I was reading this thing for 9 minutes and I was speaking to myself. Oh, that is so painful. Anyway, no, let me even take these glasses off. Are you serious? Okay, so as I was saying, I am reading... Let me show you what I'm reading. Let me just start this whole thing again. Thank you, CR7, for that, for telling me you can't hear me. I hope now you can hear me. Please tell me you can hear me. Am I audible? I hope I am. Wait. I have never done this before. This is what I'm reading, The Psychology of Money. And I'm reading chapter 2, Luck and Risk. Nothing is as good as it seems. And... yeah, I hope please tell me if you can hear me now. I'm about to mute 10 minutes later. My goodness. Okay. That is what I'm reading. Okay, and now I'm like on the third page. And oh, maybe I can repeat part of it. Let me turn the camera back to me. Thank you so much, CR7 King. There's a King caption. Thank you. I hope now you can hear me. Please tell me if you can hear me. We're saying that Bill Gates. We all know Bill Gates. I hope we do, unless you live under the rock, under a rock somewhere. I know you know about Bill Gates. Bill Gates went to one of the only high schools in the world that had a computer in his time, and when he was giving a speech, he said that if he did not go to that school, the school's name was Lakeside. If he did not go to Lakeside, he would not have come across a computer. Okay, yes. He would not, like, Microsoft would not have been built, because how else is it that if it was not for the exposure he got at Lakeside, then he would not have started Microsoft. Because during the year that he was there, in 1968, there were roughly 303 million high school age people in the world, according to the UN. 18 million of them lived in the United States. 270,000 of them were in Washington State. A little over 100,000 of them in Seattle area, and only 300 of them attended Lakeside School. So imagine, out of 303 million people in high school in the world, only 300 of them had the exposure of seeing computers. So you can only imagine. Okay, yeah, so that is where we were at. Before I spoke for 10 minutes, let me not curse, 10 minutes without unmuting my microphone, like Leah. How? Oh god. Anyway, so let's continue. And now we said luck and risk are siblings. So we say Bill Gates was on the luck side of this, and then now there was a friend of his whom they were in the same class with. His name was Kent. Okay, and unlike Paul Allen, because Allen was also, or is it Allen? He was also with Bill Gates. So they were what do we call Gates, Allen. There was also now this guy by the name Kent. Okay, and Kent was also Nani's friend, Bill Gates' friend. And then so Evans is Kent, was as skilled with computers as Gates and Allen. Lakeside once struggled to manually put together the school's class schedule, a maze of complexity, to have hundreds of students, the classes they need at times that don't conflict with other courses. The school tasked Bill and Kent, children by any measure, to build a computer program to solve the problem. It worked. Okay, and unlike Paul Allen, Kent shared Bill's business mind and endless ambition. Kent always had the big briefcase, like a lawyer's briefcase, Gates recalls. We were always scheming about what we'll be doing 5 or 6 years in the future. Should we go be CEOs? What kind of impact could you have? Should we go be generals? Should we go be ambassadors? Whatever it is. Bill and Kent knew they'd do it together. You know, they were friends in the same class, they liked the same things, they had the same minds, you know, like your best friend. Do you remember your best friend in high school? After reminiscing on his friendship with Kent, okay, so wait first. Chat filter, my god. So I have never done this, so please forgive me. Wait. Ooh. I wanted to reply on the comment, but it looks like it's taking time. So let me just continue reading before I'm talking for so many minutes. Anyway, after reminiscing of his friendship with Kent, Gates trails off. We would have kept working together. I'm sure we would have gone to college together. Kent could have been a founding partner of Microsoft with Gates and Ellen, but it would never happen. Kent died in a mountaineering accident before he graduated high school. That is so sad. Every year there are around 3,000 mountaineering deaths in the United States. The odds of being killed on a mountain in high school are roughly 1 in a million, because I can only guess. Bill Gates experienced 1 in a million luck by ending up at Lakeside. Kevin, my god, where has Kevin come from? Kent Evans experienced 1 in a million risk by never getting to finish what he and Gates set out to achieve. The same force, the same magnitude, working in opposite directions. That is very, very, very true. So we continue. Luck and risk are both the reality that every outcome in life is guided by forces other than individual effort. They are so similar that you can't believe in one without equally respecting the other. They both happen because the world is too complex to allow 100% of your actions to dictate 100% of your outcomes. Wow, that is so profound. They are driven by the same thing. You are one person in a game with 7 billion other people and infinite moving parts. The accidental impact of actions outside of your control can be more consequential than the others you consciously take. But both are so hard to measure and hard to accept that they too often go overlooked. For every Bill Gates, there's a Kevin, there's a Kent Evans. Let me just use Evans. I don't know where the word Kevin comes from. Who was just as skilled and driven, but ended up on the other side of life, roulette. Have you heard that? Both are so hard to measure. That is luck and risk. And hard to accept. That they too often get overlooked. For every Bill Gates who founded Microsoft as we know of it and everything, there is a Kent Evans, his friend, who ended up dying in a mountaineering, whatever, while he was doing mountaineering. Okay, yeah. If you give luck and risk their proper respect, you realize that when judging people's financial success, both you and others, it's never as good or as bad as it seems. If you give luck and risk their proper respect, you realize that when judging people's financial success, both your own and others, it's never as good or as bad as it seems. That should stick. And that is, if you give luck and risk their proper respect, you realize that when judging people's financial success, both your own and others, it's never as good or as bad as it seems. Okay. Years ago, I asked economist Robert Shiller, who won the Nobel Prize in economics, what do you want to know about investing that we can't know? The exact role of luck is successful outcomes, he answered. So this is what he said, the exact role of luck in successful outcomes. I love that response because no one actually thinks luck doesn't play a role in financial success. But since it's hard to quantify, luck and rude to suggest people's success is owed to it. The default stance is often to implicitly ignore luck as a factor of success. Actually, if you tell people that, oh, I know you just got lucky, I don't know why the word luck, I don't know, we associate the word luck with uh not being what do you call it, not being hardworking enough. Ama, imagine you're successful and then someone tells you it's luck. How would you like take it? Because I don't, when people are saying about themselves, I don't hear them saying, I am this way because of luck. I've not heard someone say that. I know we say it's God, but how many of us say it's luck? How many? Have you ever said it's luck to be how you are if you're successful? Or if you went through something? Okay, allow me to check my channel on the laptop so that I can see if you actually can hear me. Wait. Oh, yes. So I now know you can hear me well. So if I say there are a billion investors in the world, let's continue. If I say there are a billion investors in the world, by sheer chance, would you expect 10 of them to become billionaires predominantly of luck? You would reply, of course. But then, if I ask you to name those investors to their face, that's what I'm telling you. Would you tell somebody to their face that, oh, you're a billionaire by luck? Would you do that? By the way, as for me, I don't think I would. I don't know. You will likely back down. By the way, that's true. If you saw a billionaire and then now you go telling them that you are a billionaire by luck, to their face, I don't think you would. When judging others, attributing success to luck makes you look jealous and mean. That is very true, by the way. That is very, 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 very true. And I'm going to underline that using my daughter's crayons because I never came with a pen. And that is very wrong. Okay, tomorrow I'll be more prepared. Yes. When judging others, attributing success to luck makes you look jealous and mean, even if we know it exists. And when judging yourself, attributing success to luck can be too demoralizing to accept. Economist Mazumda has shown that incomes among brothers are more correlated than height or weight. If you are rich and tall, your brother is more likely to also be rich than he is tall. Oh, okay. I think most of us intuitively know this is true. The quality of your education and the doors that open for you are heavily linked to your parents' socio-economic status. But find me two rich brothers and I'll show you two men who do not think these studies' findings apply to them. Failure, which can be anything from bankruptcy to not meeting a personal goal, is equally abused. Did failed businesses not try hard enough? Were bad investments not thought through well enough? Are wayward careers due to laziness? Sometimes yes, of course, but sometimes no. But how much sorry but how much it's so hard to know. Everything worth pursuing has less than 100% odds of succeeding, and risk is just what happens when you end up on the unfortunate side of that equation. Just as with luck, the story gets too hard, too messy, too complex if we try to pick apart how much of an outcome was a conscious decision versus a risk. Say I buy a stock and 5 years later it's gone nowhere. It's possible that I made a bad decision by buying it in the first place. It's also possible that I made a good decision that had an 80% chance of making money, and I just happened to end up on the side of the unfortunate 20%. How do I know which is which? Did I make a mistake or did I experience the reality of risk? It's possible to statistically measure whether some decisions were wise, but in the real world, day to day, we simply don't. It's too hard. We prefer simple stories which are easy but often devilishly misleading. After spending years around investors and business leaders, I've come to realize that someone else's failure is usually attributed to bad decisions, while your own failures are usually chalked up to the dark side of risk. When judging your failures, I'm likely to prefer a clean and simple story of cause and effect because I don't know what's going on inside your head. You had a bad outcome, so it must have been caused by a bad decision. In the story that makes the most sense to me. But when judging myself, I can make up a wild narrative justifying my past decisions and attributing bad outcomes to risk. That only brings how we judge others differently from how we judge ourselves. The cover of Forbes magazine does not celebrate poor investors who made good decisions but happened to experience the unfortunate side of risk. By the way, they don't. Hey, where would you find that? Hey, but it mostly certainly celebrates rich investors who made okay or even reckless decisions and happened to get lucky. But flipped the same coin that happened to land on a different side. Wait. The dangerous part of this is that we are all trying to learn about what works and what doesn't with money. What investing strategies work, which ones don't? What business strategies work, which ones don't? How do you get rich? How do you avoid being poor? We tend to seek out these lessons by observing successes and failures and saying, do what she said, avoid what he did. If we had a magic wand, we would find out exactly what proportion of these outcomes were caused by actions that are repeatable versus the role of random risk and luck that swayed those actions one way or the other. But we don't have a magic wand. We have brains that prefer easy answers without making appetite for nuance. So identifying the traits we should emulate or avoid can be agonizingly hard. Let me tell you another story of someone who, like Bill Gates, was wildly successful, but whose success is hard to pin down on being caused by lack of skill. Okay, Cornelius Vanderbilt had just finished a series of business deals to expand his railroad empire. One of his business advisors leaned in to tell Vanderbilt that every transaction he agreed to broke the law. My God, John, said Vanderbilt, you don't suppose you can run a railroad road in accordance with the statutes of the state of the New York, do you? My first thought when reading this was, that attitude is why he was so successful. Laws didn't accommodate railroads during Vanderbilt's day. So he said, to hell with it, and went ahead anyway. Vanderbilt was wildly successful, so it's tempting to view the law flaunting, which was notorious and vital to his success, as sage wisdom. That scrappy visionary let nothing get in his way. But how dangerous is that analysis? No sane person would recommend a flagrant crime as an entrepreneurial trait. You can easily imagine Vanderbilt's story turning out much different. An outlaw whose young company collapsed under court order. So we have a problem here. You can praise Vanderbilt for flaunting the law, which with as much passion as you criticize Enron for doing the same. Perhaps one got lucky by avoiding the arm of the law, while the other found itself on the side of risk. Okay, John D. Rockefeller is similar. His frequent circumventing of the law, a judge once called his company no better than a common thief, is often portrayed by historians as cunning business smarts. Maybe it was, but when does the narrative shift from you don't let outdated laws get in the way of innovation to you committed a crime? All has little would the story have to shift for the narrative to have turned from Rockefeller was a genius, try to learn from his success, to Rockefeller was a criminal, try to learn from his business failures. Very little. Very true. What do I care about the law? Vanderbilt once said, "Ain't I got the power?" He did, and it worked. But it's easy to imagine those being the last words of a story with a very different outcome. The line between bold and reckless can be thin. When we don't give risk and luck their proper billing, it's often invincible. Benjamin Graham is known as one of the greatest investors of all time, the father of value investing and the early mentor of Warren Buffett. But the majority of Benjamin Graham's investing success was due to owning an enormous chunk of Geico stock, which, by his own admission, broke nearly every diversification rule that Graham himself laid out in his famous text. Where does the thin line between bold and reckless fall here? I don't know. Graham wrote about the Geico bonanza. One lucky break or one supremely shrewd decision. Can we tell them apart? Not easily. Okay. We similarly think Mark Zuckerberg, what did I want to say, is a genius for turning down Yahoo's 2006 $1 billion offer to buy his company. He saw the future and stuck to his guns. But people criticize Yahoo with as much passion for turning down its own big buyout offer from Microsoft. Those fools should have cashed out while they could. What is the lesson for entrepreneurs here? I have no idea, because a risk and luck are so hard to pin down. There are so many examples of this, countless fortunes and failures, or their outcome to leverage. The best and worst managers drive their employees as hard as they can. Their customer is always right, and customers don't know what they want are both accepted business wisdom. By the customer is always right. That one I've had. Customers don't know what they want. I've never had that until now. Have you ever had that? I don't know. The line between inspiring, bold, and foolishly reckless can be a millimeter thick and only visible with hindsight. Risk and luck are doppelgangers. Where my English today? This is not an easy problem to solve. The difficulty in identifying what is luck, what is skill, and what is risk is one of the biggest problems you face when trying to learn about the best way to manage money. But two things can point you in a better direction. Be careful who you praise and admire. Be careful who you can look down upon and wish to avoid becoming. Or just be careful when assuming that 100% of outcomes can be attributed to effort and decisions. After my son was born, I wrote him a letter and said in part, some people are born into families that encourage education. Others are against it. Some are born into flourishing economies, encouraging of entrepreneurship. Others are born into war and destitution. I want you to be successful and I want you to earn it. But realize that not all success is due to hard work. And not all poverty is due to laziness. Keep this in mind when judging people, including yourself. Therefore, focus less on specific individuals and case studies and more on broad patterns. Studying a specific person can be dangerous because we tend to study extreme examples, the billionaires, the CEOs, the massive failures that dominate the news. And extreme examples are often the least applicable to other situations, given their complexity. The more extreme the outcome, the less likely you can apply its lessons to your own life, because the more likely the outcome was influenced by extreme ends of luck and risk. You'll get closer to actionable takeaways by looking for broad patterns of success and failure. The more common the pattern, the more applicable it might be to your life. Trying to emulate Warren investment success is hard, because his results are so extreme that the role of luck in his lifetime performance is very likely high. And luck isn't something you can reliably emulate, but realizing, as we all see in chapter 7, that people who have control over their time tend to be happier in life is a broad and common enough observation that you can do something with it. My favorite historian, Frederick Lewis Allen, spent his career depicting the life of an average median American, how they lived, how they changed, what they did for work, what they ate for dinner, etc. There are more relevant lessons to take away from this kind of broad observation than there are in studying the extreme characters that tend to dominate the news. Bill Gates once said, "Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose." When things are going extremely well, realize it's not as good as you think. You are not invincible. And if you acknowledge that luck brought you success, when you have to believe in luck's cousin risk, which can turn your story around just as quickly. But the same is true in the other direction. Ooh, failure can be a lousy teacher because it seduces smart people into thinking their decisions were terrible, when sometimes they just reflect the unforgiving realities of risk. The trick when dealing with failure is arranging your financial life in a way that a bad investment here and a missed financial goal there won't wipe you out, so you can keep playing until the odds fall in your favor. We keep playing until the odds fall in our favor. Yes. But most important is that as much as we realize the role of luck in success, the role of risk means we should forgive ourselves and leave room for understanding when judging failures. Nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. Now let's look at the stories of two men who pushed their luck. And that is the end of chapter 2. We will do chapter 3 tomorrow, maybe. I'll put up a poster to tell you if you're doing chapter 3. I will improve on the lighting. But then I was just doing this. It's my first time. I was just trying it out because why not? But now I've seen the quality of the video from my laptop. So I will improve on the lighting. Because there was sun, but now there's no more sun. I was just trying to use my front camera and natural lighting, but I see the lighting keeps fluctuating. Yes, so tomorrow I will try and get my ring light so that the lighting is more better than it is right now. I could do it in the morning hours or in the afternoon hours, but I'll let you know. So we will do chapter 3, and now chapter 3 is never enough when rich people do crazy things. So what have you taken from chapter 2? Because as for me, what I've learned is that the way we judge ourselves, especially when it comes to success, whether financial or anything, is different from how we judge other people. For example, we don't want to tell people to their face that, or we don't want to admit that probably they were just lucky. Like how we've seen the story of Bill Gates. Bill Gates, we know him from Microsoft. But imagine when he was in school, what happened is that he was exposed to computers early, and that was a nice thing for him. So he was lucky to be in a school that had what? That had computers when he was studying. Hi, Eugene. How have you been? It has been so long. How are you? Hey, I am still here. Where have you been? I will text you. Yeah, so, you see, so lucky for Bill Gates to have been in a school that had computers that intrigued him. And then, because we've seen that in 1968, there were 303 million high school students in the world, according to the UN. And imagine, out of these 303 million, only about 300 of them, Bill Gates being one of them, was in Lakeside, where there was a computer. And then now, that is luck. That was lucky for him. And then on the other side, we've seen his friend, whose name was Kent. He also loved this computers thingy and everything. But then, unfortunately, he didn't even graduate. He never went to like college because he died mountaineering. That was sad for him. And that is how life is. Hmm? That is how it is. Okay? Are we together? So tomorrow, I hope to see you. I hope I'll do it better. Forgive me for the first 10 minutes that I had muted my microphone and I was just speaking. Imagine. Oh, but so is life. Tomorrow I know better. Thank you for everybody who has joined me. I know sijamaliza 1 hour. It is only 40 minutes. I have enjoyed it. And please grab yourself this book. Let me show you the book. This is the book, The Psychology of Money. It's a good book. Please grab it and come with it tomorrow. Okay? Thank you so much and have a nice afternoon. Bye. Okay.